about 30 seconds, you will hear my interview with President Donald Trump. But first, we have some breaking news. After 75 days, the House votes to reopen DHS. It was not easy. I'll tell you what got House Republicans to say yes. Now to President Trump. I wanted to ask him about issues you care about. The top of the list is always jobs, so that's where I begin. In a wide-ranging interview covering many topics, here is the President. Mr. President, very nice to talk to you, sir.
Thank you, Greta. Thank you.
Mr. President, you and I we've gone way back, about 24 years or so, talking about the economy. And I remember very early on and consistently, you've always been disturbed that manufacturing has left the United States and hurting the workers. Well, we have a new disruptor, which is AI, which has been fabulously important to medicine, but we're losing a lot of jobs. Even Meta's canceled, or they're going to lay off 8,000. Have you given any thoughts about how AI can expand and help our workers rather than strip away all these jobs?
Well, you're really helping the workers because we're building plants all over the country. And when these plants open up, you're going to see a big surge. But you're really helping, and you're helping a lot of other things like cures to diseases that we're going to find through AI, et cetera. But we have plants right now, as an example, construction jobs are way up. The jobs after they open are going to be way up. And AI is going to be a boon to the country. It's going to be incredible, I think. And we're leading China. You know, China wants it badly. They want to take the lead, but they won't be able to as long as we're smart. And if we're nice and smart, like we should be, we will control that industry. That industry will lead to unbelievable things and will lead to tremendous numbers of jobs.
I guess I worry because when I go to the grocery store or the drugstore, I no longer see people. I just punch things in because technology has taken so many of those jobs away. So I guess that I feel uneasy because of that.
Well, you might, but it's hard. As an example, we're doing tremendously well in the automobile manufacturing businesses. They're moving into the country, and you have a lot of people. You'll have more plants. You may have fewer people in the plants, but you'll have many more of them. And that's what's happening all over. That's what's happening.
All right. I know that taxes is not your...
Understand, to quench your appetite, there are more people working today in the United States than ever before. So you may not see a lot of people in the grocery store, but we have the highest number of people working today than we ever have before, by far.
All right, let me turn to another branch of government, which seems to be a little, which has got a big job, and that's the legislative branch. It's their job to in the House to do the tax code. And our tax code is just so tangled up. It's such a mess. It's so many pages. Nobody understands it. Everybody has to pay to have his or her taxes done if you have any sort of income. Is there anything you can do to put some fire under Congress to get that tax code simplified?
Well, we are doing that, and I agree with you, but I also agree that we had the biggest tax cut in history. And people are getting $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 back. We have no tax on tips, which made it much simpler. We have no tax on Social Security, which made it much simpler. We have no tax on overtime, which makes even the returns much simpler. So what we've done is we've cut taxes so much, and some of those taxes are no longer even have to be reported, like no tax on tips. None of them do. So we are simplifying it, but we're also going to mechanically simplify it, and that'll be easy. The big thing was getting the cuts. So people are ending up with $5,000 or $6,000 now, more than they thought they would have. And I think you see that. People are saying, wow, this is great. That's all because of the great, big, beautiful bill.
All right, well, you got to have a job, though, in order to be able to pay taxes to even take advantage of the big, beautiful bill.
Well, I just told you, we have more people working in the United States today than we've ever had in the history of our country.
All right. Let me turn now to the Senate and the filibuster, and which have you had any conversations with Senator Thune, who ran on the pledge when he was named the leader that the filibuster would not go away? So the filibuster has been standing in the way of some of the legislation that you would like to see hit your desk.
I think it's very foolish for the Republicans not to immediately terminate the filibuster and get everything approved, like the great, big, beautiful bill. And I think they're getting much closer to it. It's shocking that there are a couple of people that just don't want to do it. Now, why? You'll have to ask them. But if we did that, we could get things done at a record clip. I deal with it all the time. I mean, especially lately. I said, how much can a Republican senators stand, because what they're doing with respect to defunding all of our law enforcement, frankly, which is really what they're doing. They're defunding ICE, they're defunding Border Patrol, they're defunding some of our greatest people, our greatest patriots. And at some point, I think the senators have to get smart, and they have to do it, because the Democrats will do it in their first hour, and they'll use it in their first day, and they'll be adding additional states, and they'll be adding additional Supreme Court justices. I hear up to 21 is the number they really want. 21. They want to dilute it, and it would be terrible. So I think the Republicans have to they have to terminate the filibuster and approve all sorts of things, like the great big, we did the great big beautiful bill. We have the Save America Act, which will be such a great thing. There will be very little voting cheating if we do the Save America Act. And the way they're going to do that is to terminate the filibuster.
But how do you get them actually to do that? Because as a practical matter, is that your name isn't on the ballot come November, but you are the president and you've had an enormous impact on all these races, is that if these things don't get passed, your supporters are not going to be happy, and they're not going to say that it's a filibuster in the Senate. They're probably going to point their finger at you. So how do you get this across the finish line to get rid of the filibuster so you can get that legislation passed?
Well,
what do you do with Dune?
Have a tendency to say when something like this happens that I'm not being properly served, because they know where I am. And I've had that before. And it is a problem. I'm not on the ballot. And I have to convince, everyone says if I was on the ballot would win in a landslide. I have some of the best poll numbers I've ever had. And the war is actually, Harvard-Harris just came out with a poll. Stopping Iran from having a nuclear weapon is a positive thing, not a negative thing. And I always felt that, but whether I felt it or not, I have to do the right thing. We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. But, no, I just hope that if we pass the filibuster, I think we win everything in a landslide, because we will have passed so much. Forget about the filibuster. Because if we terminate the filibuster, we will pass so many things, not only the Save America Act, but every other thing that the Republicans have ever wanted. And that will lead to a landslide election victory. If we don't pass it, and if we don't pass stuff, it's going to be much tougher. There's no question about it, in my mind.
Well, there's certainly been a curse on any incumbent president. The only presidents that have won in the midterms have been FDR back in the 30s, Bill Clinton, and George Bush 43. Every other time, every other president has had the misfortune when you're in the Oval Office is losing the midterms. You're going to change that this time?
Well, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we've had a great year. A lot of people say we had the greatest first year in the history of the presidency. And I think, not only everything that we've done, we have the largest tax cuts, largest regulation cuts, best economy. What do you see when the war ends? Even with the war, we just hit a new high on the economy. Think of it. We hit a new high. We have the best economy. The stock market just now hit a new high during the war or the military operation, whatever you'd like to call it. I mean, we are doing great. And yet no president, even, you had basically 2 or 3 over a 50-year period. When you think about it, it doesn't make sense. Presidents that have done well, some have done well, still lose the midterms. So we have to change that. The way you change it is to terminate the filibuster. That would be the way that it's a guarantee. Otherwise, it's tougher, but we should be able to do it just based on my record. Based on my record, we should be able to do it.
I've been around Washington long enough to know that I never know what's going on the inside. Media is always on the outside. But looking at the Iran war, haven't you already won? I mean, isn't it? I mean,
we've already won.
War?
We've already won, but I want to win by a bigger margin. But we have. We have destroyed their Navy, destroyed their Air Force, destroyed all of their. If you look at their anti-aircraft equipment, their radar equipment, their leadership is destroyed. We've destroyed everything. If we leave right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild if they ever could rebuild. But it's actually not good enough. We have to have guarantees they will never have a nuclear weapon.
Who is their leadership?
Because just like the Democrats will use the filibuster, will terminate it, just like I will tell you that Iran would use the nuclear weapon if they had it. I deal with these people. I know people they will use the nuclear weapon, and we're not going to give them a chance to do it. And I actually think it's very popular, what I'm doing. I can tell you worldwide, the world is thanking me because I shouldn't be the one that's doing it. Other presidents should have done it long before me, and other countries should have done it. We were not helped by NATO at all. Other countries should have done it.
Well, you know, I think it's a fact that no country in the world wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Nobody does.
But they don't want to do anything about it. They don't want to do anything about it. They always say
even
that.
some of our better friends. Then
you have the German chancellor, whatever he is, who says that, he disagrees with me on nuclear weapons for Iran. I said, if you disagree with me on nuclear weapons for Iran, you're doing a great disservice to the people of Germany. And, you know, how is he done with Ukraine? I mean, they've been fighting that war long before I got into office. How is the German chancellor done in Ukraine? Not too well. Not too well. So what they have to do is they have to focus on immigration and energy, not on me, because we have decimated Iran. And Iran is talking, and they want something to happen, but they're not there yet. And if they're not going to be there, they will never have a nuclear weapon.
Well, here's what I don't understand is, number one is I don't know who you're dealing with because the leadership seems to have been decimated and seems, I don't know how you negotiate with someone who doesn't have a leader. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Steve Witkoff told me on this show is that the United States offered Iran to give them enriched uranium so that for medical and powerful purposes, free, if they would give up their nuclear program. Wouldn't cost them a dime, and they declined that, which to me suggested that they really didn't want a deal. Well,
and maybe it wasn't a very serious offer, because I wouldn't have approved that. I wouldn't have. I'm not giving them anything. I wouldn't have approved that. They're going to either have a nuclear weapon or they're not. And if they're not, they're in big trouble, even bigger than they are right now. And right now, their economy is collapsing. Inflation's at close to 100%. Their equivalent of our dollar is non-existent. I mean, it's literally non-existent. And they can't do any oil because we have a blockade that's 100% effective. So they can't sell oil. That's $500 million a day. $500 million a day.
Let me bring you back to domestic issues. Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, says it's Trump derangement syndrome for Democrats to oppose the new ballroom. I take it you agree with the senator.
I do. I agree with a lot of things he says. I think he's terrific, actually. He's a man of common sense. It's not politics. It's common sense. I am, too. I'm a common sense person. The ballroom is beautiful. It's going ahead of schedule. Many people want it. Many Democrats, all Democrats know it's needed. But, you know, if it was anybody else building it but me, they'd say, but it's going along beautifully. It's ahead of schedule. It's right on budget, unlike other things built in our country, like the Federal Reserve building, which is slightly over budget by billions of dollars, you know. Crazy. That's a crazy. I could have done that job for $25 million. They're going to spend maybe $4 billion, and it might not be open for Kevin, which is terrible. Terrible.
Turning to Jimmy Kimmel.
Take a look at the railroad, the Gavin Newsom Railroad. It's, I think, 28 times over budget, meaning 28 times higher than original projection. There's something.
Well, you do like to build. You do like to build. That has. I mean, you've had many years of success.
And I build under budget, and I build ahead of schedule, and I build the most beautiful project. You know, I always built the best project for less money than other people could do it for.
Well, I remember years ago walking through the old post office here in D.C. with you, where there were all these rats, and you decided to take that over, and you made it into a beautiful hotel.
That's right. I did a great job. And by the way, I built that for $201 million, and it's bigger than the Federal Reserve building. $201 million.
One last question. Jimmy Kimmel has apologized. Is it a good apology? Do you accept the apology?
I haven't heard him apologize, but he's a lowlife. Whether he apologized or not, he's a lowlife. He always has been. He shouldn't be on television. I don't know how a guy can be on television where the network gets free airwaves from the United States government and spend 100% of his time knocking Republicans and conservatives and Trump 100% of his time. It's not supposed to work that way, equal time provisions, et cetera, et cetera. Not supposed to work that way. But he's not a funny guy. He's got no ratings, and I don't understand how he can be on air. I think ABC is putting themselves in great jeopardy, actually. They've already paid me $16 million. George Slopadopoulos said things that were untrue, and they had to pay me $16 million. So this is very serious what's going on there.
Mr. President, thank you, and have a safe trip to China later in May. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and you have a great husband who's a great lawyer. Thank you very much.
Well, you kept him. You sent him to Poland. You promised the president of Poland.
He's the only one I sent to get hostages because he's the best.
I know, but you promised the president of Poland last September to get that Polish journalist out of prison. Well, he just did it 2 days ago. He just got back last night. So
and nobody wants to write about the job. The great John Cole. He's a great lawyer. He's a great guy. And it's true. He's gotten hundreds of people out, not only from this country, by the way, from other countries, too, that were unfairly kept in different locations in different countries. Your husband's done a fantastic job, and he loves doing it. He's a great guy, actually. And so are you. Thanks a lot, Greta.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Coming up, a major shakeup in a crucial Senate race. That when the record continues.
This was America in 1980, held in contempt by foreign nations. Across the world, people were losing their freedoms. So many countries thought America had seen its day, but we knew better. So we stopped complaining together and started working together. Today, America is strong again. We're looking to the future with confidence and pride. America's best days and democracy's best days lie ahead.
Aging isn't something that happens later. It's happening right now. We age because our cells age.
Fatty 15 helps to reverse aging on a cellular level.
And just one daily capsule has over 36 cellular benefits.
Basically acts like an armor for your cells. You should definitely try Fatty 15.
For pain in multiple spots like here, here, or here, Salonpas patches stick firmly and remove comfortably once your pain is gone. Salonpas. It's good medicine.
My earwax buildup was frustrating. Then I tried new Lipo Earwax Cleanser. The revolutionary formula dissolves earwax 5 times faster than the leading brand and helps prevent future buildup. Feel the difference with new Lipo Earwax Cleanser.
Sonia and Gerald trust Prevagen for their brains, and this is their story.
I'm Sonia.
And I'm Gerald, and we live in Jacksonville, Florida.
We are both military veterans, and we provide dental care for underserved communities. We have a very busy life.
We take Prevagen for our brains.
I would honestly say I like the way that Prevagen makes me feel. At the end of the day, I feel confident and amazing.
Prevagen has been the #1 selling brain supplement nationwide for over 10 years.
Hey y'all, so I just downloaded the Experian app because I wanted to check my FICO score, but it does so much more. This thing shows you your FICO score, you can get your credit card recommendations, and it shows you ways to save money.
Do so much more than get your FICO score. Download the Experian app now.
Well, it's no surprise in this town, politics is a contact sport. You get a lot of bruises. And now a bruised candidate in a Senate race is calling it quits. She said she does not have the campaign funds. Current Maine Democrat Governor Janet Mills, who was running for one of Maine's Senate seats in November, just suspended a race. Her campaign can't afford the race. The governor, now former U.S. Senate candidate, said today in part, quote, "I very simply do not have the one thing that political campaigns unfortunately require today, the financial resources," end quote. Now, at the end of March, Mills' campaign had more than $1 million in the bank, and that does sound like a lot of money, but it was far less than her opponent, Graham Plattner. He had $2.7 million. So that leaves Plattner as the clear front runner for the Democrat Senate nomination in Maine. Plattner is an oyster farmer. He's never held office before. He's also a Marine veteran who has faced tons of criticism for his past comments, and those comments include endorsing political violence, discrediting rape victims, and using derogatory language. He says he made those comments after he left the Army in 2012 and was struggling with PTSD and depression. There's more that Plattner has had to talk about. He had a Nazi-linked tattoo on his chest. It's a skull and crossbones tattoo. That tattoo has been identified as a Totenkopf, that is, a symbol associated with Nazi paramilitary forces known as the SS. Plattner got this tattoo in 2007 when he was in the Marine Corps. He got it while on leave in Croatia. Plattner says he does not know or did not know it resembled a Nazi symbol. He called his actions disgusting. His former political director, though, said, quote, "He knows damn well what it means," end quote. This past October, Plattner covered up the tattoo with this tattoo. With Governor Mills dropping out of the race, Ratner will all but likely face Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins in the general election. She is serving her 5th term. Collins was first elected in 1995. Democrats view this Maine Senate seat as winnable, but Senator Collins has fended off past challenges. In her last Senate race, she won by 8.6 percentage points. Former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And I assume that you, looking at the times and dates that you served when Senator Collins, since she's been in the Senate, but the Democrats see this as a seat they can win in a state that's quite moderate, Maine. Looking at this race, what do you think?
Susan Collins fits Maine. I mean, she's an independent. I mean, the other senator from Maine is an independent, Angus King, and in fact, Janet Mills is the only Democrat that's won statewide there for a major race in 20 years. The reality is Maine is not a predictable Democratic state. They've had Republican governors not too long ago, and they had 2 Republican senators not too long ago. So it is no question in a presidential election, it very much favors the Democrat. But again, Trump was able to pull off one of the 2 congressional districts. So it's a swing state, it's a moderate state, and Susan Collins is a moderate. She's not a for sure Trump vote. I know she gets under Trump's skin sometimes because she's somewhat critical of him, but she's exactly what Maine wants to send to the Senate, and I think they'll do it again.
All right, $1.1 million was in the governor's campaign chest. I do not understand. I mean, I understand the old days when you had to spend a fortune on local ads, but I don't understand why $1 million, and he has 2.6. I realize that's more than she had at the end of March. But, you know, if you're clever and smart and use social media, you can do almost everything free nowadays. So I do not understand, is money still, I mean, that important, especially in a state like Maine, and when you've got so much name recognition?
Yeah, you can do digital, but digital costs money too. I mean, any kind of advertising is going to cost you money. And here's what I think Janet Mills ran up against: that she had institutional support. She had, you know, large dollar, big donors and folks who were more mainstream Democrats, if you will, to support her campaign and gave her maxed out contributions. But there's only so many of those. What he had was what Bernie Sanders and folks on the far left have, which is a lot of grassroots support, $10, $20, $30, $50 from all over the country. And that is a replenishment. You can go back to that over and over again, where as Janet Mills, I mean, you can't do that. You max out, you have a maxed out contribution, and then you're done. Where the other candidate had this resource of a large base of small dollar donors.
But that's if you're running a 1995 campaign. You can open up your laptop and you can record it. You can say, "Hi, my name is Governor Janet Mills. This is or whatever. And this is what I've done for you for the last, my last term as governor of the state. I want to talk to you people. I want to lower your taxes. I want to do this or whatever." And then you stop the record and then you send it across all the different platforms. You do it again tomorrow and the next day and the day after. And you go to every single church. Then go to every single after church you go to the donuts. And I don't get it. I don't get why. I mean, why in 2026 you can't be a little bit creative and get by on the cheap?
Well, as someone who got by on the cheap for a lot of my races, yet you can do that. But if someone is bombarding you, I go back to the presidential race in 2012. I had tremendous grassroots support, and I was doing exactly what you were saying. But Mitt Romney, who I was running against, was outspending me on television and digital 9, 10, 11 to 1, and
that's a national race. But that's a national race.
But I was running it state by state. You're running a primary state by state. The point is, if you're getting, you can have the strongest grassroots base, you can have that. But if you're getting bombarded and having to respond to attacks and respond to positive things maybe the person's saying about themselves, and you don't have the dollars to do it, it's share of voice just gets overwhelming. Yeah, you can put stuff out for free, but people have to go out and click on it as opposed to having it come over, whether it's on TV or on whatever website you're on.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just lucky. I have a new podcast in Greta Wire, and I put up something 2 days ago.
But you don't have someone posting. You don't have someone paying for ads beating you up.
Have you seen some of the bad things? Oh, wait a second. Some of the nasty things said about me on social media because I'm a public guy. Come on. I mean, it's
no, they say nasty things. It's one thing if they say it and post it. It's another thing if they pay to promote it and get it out, make sure that people see it, and that's the difference.
All right, whatever. But I think it's a big difference between running against Mitt Romney nationally and running in a state that knows you because you've been governor. But I'm going to take the last word on that. I'm going to turn to something else. No, with the exception of FDR, Bill Clinton, and Bush 43, the president who has the White House, holds the White House, does very poorly and loses in the midterms. Can President Trump turn this around, take the curse off at least his administration?
Unfortunately, if you look back at the prior midterms for the president, the party didn't do particularly well when he wasn't on the ballot. That's always been sort of the little bit of the glass jaw of the president. He's awesome, and Republicans do really well when he's out there on the ticket driving the vote. Not so when he's not on the ballot, and he's got some issues that he's dealing with. Obviously, the one that's hanging over his head the most is the war right now, and people say, well, he's got to get it over with, and he's got to get out. My 2 cents is on that is that he has to win. He has to open the Straits of Hormuz. He has to get a deal, a nuclear deal that's a verifiable one and that one that people feel comfortable with. And if he does that, I think he can say he's really reordered the entire national security picture of the world, right?
But hasn't all the, I mean, also you got to factor into how everybody's rigging the districts right now with all the redistricting. I mean, doesn't how that, I mean, it does seem pretty like it's a lot of gaming going on.
Yeah, but that's always been the case. I mean, the Democrats have been doing it for years and years and years, and Republicans are now just as Trump has encouraged them to do, start playing, taking fire on with fire. It's going to help, but it's on the margins. I mean, the bottom line is you have to look at the national tide, and right now the president's numbers are not great. They're under 40%, and in most of these swing states, and that's going to be a tough thing to run against. He's got to have a good 6 months, and he's got to get out there. And first he has to be successful in this war, and then he's got to go out there and sell what he's accomplished, which is a tremendous amount. It's just the focus is not there right now.
You know what I think is really going to help him? I'm taking the last word on you, which I keep doing to you. But I think that midterm convention, he can put on quite a show, and he can do quite a lot of enthusiasm and get the vote out. I mean, he's got to get the independents, but if he really does have that big show, that big midterm convention sometime in the fall, I think that'll have an effect. But anyway, it's all politics. Interesting game. Senator Rick Santorum, thank you.
Thank you, Greta.
Coming up, the man charged with attempting to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' dinner is in court, and you will never guess the arguments his defense lawyers presented before his court appearance. That when the record continues.
Sensitive mouth and gums? Ever heard of Closest mouthwash? Your dentist and hygienist have. They know Closest is ultra gentle for sensitive mouths with non-burning mouthwashes that freshen breath, improve gum health, and strengthen teeth. Closest, the gentle mouthwash for sensitive mouths.
Before Apoquel Chewable for allergic itch, giving dogs pills was a battle of wits.
Oh, Maria, I'm wise to your foolish game.
Is it gone?
Totally gone.
Relief for itchy dogs can be easier. Apoquel, the trusted #1 treatment for allergic itch, is available in a tasty chewable that works fast.
May cause worsening of existing parasitic skin infestations, serious infections, or pre-existing cancers. New neoplasias have been observed. Do not use in dogs under 12 months of age with serious infections or in breeding, pregnant, or lactating dogs.
Ask your vet for Apoquel Chewable.
Do it!
Doctors recommend turmeric more than any other supplement for joint health. I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric, made with the #1 doctor recommended form of turmeric, clinically tested to support joint health and a healthy inflammation response. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's all-American customer service team is standing by.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there.
Wrap it up.
Come on, Dad. It's taking forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
We have breaking news, and finally, after 75 days, the government shutdown is nearly over. Earlier today, the House passed the Senate's Homeland Security funding bill. The House approved this by a voice vote and not by the usual roll call vote. So is it finally all over? No. Agencies overseeing federal immigration enforcement, such as ICE and CBP, will have to be funded separately. Earlier, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson spoke.
This will relieve pressure from the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Mullen, who I've spoken to in the last couple of hours, will be greatly relieved. The President will, the administration will. We were not going to have lines at TSA. Everybody will get their paychecks now. We'll get moving forward. And then we will finish the work and finally get, again, for 3 years, with no crazy Democrat reforms, we will fund Border Patrol and immigration enforcement as soon as we return for the work session when that bill is finalized.
The bill now heads to President Trump's desk, and once the president signs the bill, the good news: the Coast Guard, Secret Service, FEMA, and TSA will all be funded. A separate $70 billion funding vote for ICE and Border Patrol is expected in May. Meanwhile, today, Cole Allen, the man charged with attempting to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' dinner last Saturday night, appeared in federal court here in Washington. Before the hearing and yesterday, Allen's defense lawyers made a few arguments in a court filing. Allen's defense lawyers argued that their client was not prepared to carry out a mass shooting because he only had a pump-action shotgun and not an automatic weapon. His lawyers also argued that Allen is a devout Christian with no criminal history or prior arrests. Thus, his lawyers argued in the pleading their client should not be held pending indictment at trial. But today, Allen's defense lawyers told the federal magistrate that he would not contest the government's request to keep him in custody. Allen is being held in a safe cell under a 24-hour lockdown at a federal detention facility in Washington. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 11th. Coming up, can AI help detect cancer years before tumors appear? That when the record continues.
Hey, it's Mark Lauder. My career's taken me from the State House to the White House, campaigns for mayor, all the way to President of the United States. I came to Newsmax to help our viewers get more than the headlines, beyond the spin. It's a perspective you'll only see on Newsmax.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
Honey, Mortgage Bunny 6 says we should keep renting.
Mortgage Bunny 6?
Reba says more realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. They track every market so you know when to make your move.
He also says that Bigfoot... Got it.
Make it real with Realtor.com.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Researchers at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota say that with AI, they can now detect pancreatic cancer up to 3 years before a clinical diagnosis. The tool, called radiomics-based early detection model, is a major breakthrough in the early detection of pancreatic cancer. In the images on your screen, you can see the tool detecting early tissue changes related to pancreatic cancer. Dr. Ajit Goenka, the study's senior author, says early detection is vital to curing this vicious disease. He says, quote, "The greatest barrier to saving lives from pancreatic cancer has been our inability to see the disease when it is still curable." He adds, this AI can now identify the signature of cancer from a normal-appearing pancreas and can do so reliably over time and across diverse clinical settings, end quote. Researchers say the AI tool detected 73% of cancers nearly 16 months before they were detected by a specialist. Pancreatic cancer rarely shows symptoms in the early stage. 85% of patients are only aware that they have the disease once it has already spread. That makes it enormously hard to treat. By 2030 in the U.S., pancreatic cancer is expected to become the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths, but this AI may change that. Senior author of the new Mayo Clinic AI Pancreatic Research Study and nuclear medicine specialist radiologist Dr. Ajit Goenka joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And to sort of bring it down to my level, what this is just a super detective, right, that sees something peculiar. So is that a pretty simple way to start off?
Well, thank you for having me. And you're absolutely right. But when you look at it, it's actually quite intuitive. It is looking at the information that was already present in those CT scans, which were just beyond the ability of the human eye. So I think it's just reading the math in the image.
All right. Is it, and I get that in order to do this to begin with, you took thousands of these screens, of these CT scans, and you looked at them and you trained the AI to say, you know, this is the weird stuff to be looking for. And so then it learned it after looking at all these, so that when it looks at someone in real time scan, it could say, yeah, I've seen that before.
Absolutely. You know, that's how we train any of these tools, is to help them learn the patterns of disease. And, you know, these tools are smart enough to be able to do that, and that's where they complement our human expertise.
If you have the scan and you do detect this, the 3 years or 6 or whatever before, is there a treatment that will save you? Because everyone hears about pancreatic cancer and you think, you know, well, you know, you don't hear about it till it's too late. So what can you do if you do detect it soon?
So, you know, therapeutic advances have been pretty rapid in the last few decades. You know, surgical techniques, you know, my surgical colleagues, they can work their magic only if I give them a patient at a stage where they can potentially remove it. In addition, we have newer medicines now that can actually take care of the cancer even before it makes its appearance. They are still in the preclinical phase, but that's the promise of early detection.
Who is likely to get one? I mean, as I understand it, is that, I mean, people have pain, so then they go to the doctors or something. I mean, this scan detects something before you have a problem. So who's likely to get this scan?
Great question. You know, we are running a prospective clinical trial now that looks at those risk factors that have been validated over years of research. Simply put, they are those individuals who have what we call new onset diabetes and unexplained weight loss. Those are the individuals whom we are targeting with our prospective clinical trial.
Yeah, I remember years ago, the PET scan, people were talking about the PET scan, they'd say they'd see a shadow, all of a sudden you get cut up, you know, because something that might, and it didn't turn out to be anything. Is this just so much remarkably better than like a PET scan for detecting something?
Well, it is complementary to something like a PET scan. The PET scan works at a different domain of biology, and this works at an entirely different one. So this is something which would be complementary to what we do, but this would be like a gatekeeper that will decide who should get more expensive, more invasive modalities like a PET scan or an endoscopic ultrasound.
And in terms of the pancreas, I mean, you lose it, you have a bad kidney, you get a new one. You get a transplant. Is a cancerous pancreas, is that just, there's no transplant for that?
Yeah, unfortunately, transplant is not one of the options. But if you look at those individuals who fortunately were detected early and were operated upon with the newer treatments, you know, they have a remarkable 5-year survival. So I think that's where the real motivation lies for early detection, and that's where our opportunity is.
Well, if this is a super detective looking for something weird before it actually forms, I mean, a texture or something else that has been trained by looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of scans, is this the same type of, could this AI be used to help on other cancers that might need a super detective?
Absolutely. So that's the beauty of this paradigm, is that it can be easily extrapolated to any other disease. The secret sauce here is the ability to have that data. And, you know, we are lucky to be at an institution like the Mayo Clinic that has a culture and the resources that makes this kind of work possible.
Are the scans, are different quality of scans, different machines are better than some, so that, you know, so that's even helpful. Like if you get a bad machine or a scan, person doesn't know how to operate the scan, that the AI, as good as it might be, would miss it?
So that's a great question. So we looked at all the different scanners on which these CT scans were done. We wanted to find out whether it was picking up some kind of a scanner noise or was it real. And we found that its performance was invariant. It did not change whether the CT was done from one particular vendor, whether it was done in a community hospital or at a place like Mayo Clinic.
Doctor, thank you very much. It's just amazing what AI is doing in the area of medicine. It's just extraordinary, and your research is extraordinary. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, a symbol of America's sacrifice, resilience, and unbreakable spirit. That when the record continues.
When we started Allegiance, we were shocked to learn how many American flags are actually made overseas.
If there's one thing that deserves to be made here in America, it should start with the American flag.
At Allegiance,
We do it differently. Flags 100% made in America by Americans with American materials.
Join our pledge to make the American flag truly American.
Visit showallegiance.com to get your high-quality American flag today. That's showallegiance.com.
Americans have lost billions of dollars in their retirement accounts during the dot-com bubble of 2000.
And inflation is only getting worse.
Patriot Gold Group just introduced our America 250 Inflation Protection No Fee for Life IRA.
I'm sure glad Eileen and I rolled over our IRAs into gold in 2019.
On Wall Street, there's a saying, sell in May and go away.
My saying is, call the Patriot Gold Group today.
Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 1-800-778-4156.
Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer nationwide. The only firm nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the No Fee for Life IRA. Patriot Gold Group is patriots protecting patriots.
Call now, 1-800-778-4156.
You're told to optimize, to hack. There's always a promise of a better you. But what if you were never meant to be fixed? Your biology knows how to thrive. It just needs a reminder. Armor Colostrum reawakens that brilliance. 400 nutrients, 4 seconds, 1 daily revival. This time, remember what you're made of.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
It's hard to believe this, but this September 11th is the 25th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 attacks. To commemorate the anniversary next week, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation will kick off the Steel Across America Tour. And this Steel Across America Tour will honor all those who sacrificed their lives on that fateful day. The tour will feature a steel beam that was recovered from the rubble of the World Trade Center in New York City. It was recovered by the first responders who rushed to Ground Zero after the attack. According to the foundation, the beam is a symbol of America's sacrifice, resilience, and unbreakable spirit. The first stop on the tour will be in Lower Manhattan near Ground Zero. The tour will make stops all around the country before making its return to Ground Zero on September 11th. Chairman and CEO of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Frank Siller, joins me. Nice to talk to you, Frank.
Nice to talk to you too, Greta. Thanks for having me on.
You know, Frank, you're one of the many people who have taken such a horrible, horrible tragedy and turned it around to do such good. You lost your brother on 9/11, did you not?
Yes, my brother was a New York City firefighter who on September 11, 2001 was on his way home to play golf with myself, my brother George, my brother Russ, and he heard his radio scanner that the tower was hit. So, you know, what do firefighters do? They went back, he went back, got his gear from his firehouse. He just finished his night tour, but he drove down to the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel where it was closed for security reasons and strapped that 60 pounds of gear on his back, ran through the almost 2 mile long tunnel, up West Street into the South Tower, and while saving others gave up his life. And he was our little brother. He was the youngest of 7. He also was married and had 5 kids of himself. And when we found out what he did, we wanted to make sure we started a foundation to honor not just his sacrifice, Greta, but the sacrifice of all these great heroes that ran towards these buildings when and saving so many lives on that fateful day.
It wasn't just your brother. It's that he lost his parents, your parents, when he was very young, and he was the youngest, and you all raised him. So he was sort of has a double role within your family of many. But it's just, it's so extraordinary when people, turn such horrible tragedy. Tunnel Towers does things, mortgage-free homes, especially adapted smart homes for people who need them, helping end veteran homelessness, and never forgetting 9/11. But where did you find it within yourself to do this for so many others? What was it?
Well, to be quite frank with you, what my brother did was so extraordinary. We just, as older siblings, we just wanted to honor what, the sacrifice that he made. But God put us on a path, and we were listening. And so many people came and joined us on our mission. We ask everybody to go to t2t.org and donate $11 a month. We can't do it without the other people joining us. We can't make a promise like we have that we're going to pay off every mortgage in America of every first responder who dies in the line of duty that leaves a young family behind. And we've been doing that for many, many years. Or Gold Star widow that lost their loved one protecting our country. Well, same thing. We're going to give them, if they have a young family, we're going to make sure we pay off their mortgage. Or if they're catastrophically injured, we're going to build them a mortgage-free smart home. So, yes, we've been making this promise, and where we get this fortitude or resilience or drive from is because of what so many did that day, including my brother. You think what they did, come on. What we have to do is to make a promise to these great American families that have their loved ones go out and sacrifice or make a commitment to protect us. And when they give up their lives or their bodies, we better take care of them as a country. And Tunnel to Towers Foundation is the conduit to that. And we ask everybody to join us. And millions of people have. Millions of people have joined us on this mission, and that's why it's so important that we are to commemorate the 25th anniversary of 9/11, that we have a piece of steel from ground zero, and we believe it was from the South Tower because that's what I was told, and that's where my brother most definitely gave up his life, because that's where his other firefighters from Squad 1 were recovered. My brother was never recovered. There were over 1,000 people that weren't recovered that day, and that steel has their soul in it. It has their sacrifice in it, and that's what it represents. It represents sacrifice, resolve, commitment, and also represents their lives, what they did with their lives. And then I want people to feel that when it goes around America. I want people to touch it. I want people to put their hand on this steel and close their eyes and say a prayer, not just for Stephen or these great heroes, but their families. And how about the 7,000 men and women that have made the sacrifice in the global war on terror ever since? It's incredible, the sacrifice that's made, and we can't forget it, and that's what this steel represents.
Yeah, indeed it does. It represents a sacrifice, and it also represents the sort of the goodness. People like you and everybody else to commemorate it. And I think people will come out with this tour and they'll want to see that beam. I'd like to see it, and I've been up to Ground Zero, but I want to see it too across the country. Frank Siller, thank you very much, and good luck, sir. It's a great program, and I've seen, when I see the ads and see what these changes, what you do for these families, it's quite something. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless.
Coming up, spring break in Venezuela? Yes, Venezuela. That one, the record continues.
I was really afraid.
Of what?
Of you?
Marlena Dietrich, Mae West, Rita Hayworth, and more. Fearless pioneers of the screen. Angelic, tough, sexy, in control. They broke the rules and paved the way. Watch Starlets, the ladies who made Hollywood.
If you're looking for a nutritional supplement that really makes a difference, look at Immuno 150.
I can hardly believe how much my health has improved within 6 weeks of starting Immuno 150. I have more energy, my pain is gone, and I've lost weight too.
This is an example of what we hear from thousands of customers. Place your order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. You won't believe what 7 times more minerals can do for you. Order now. You'll be glad you did.
Every day, bumps and things happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Falling down stairs can be disastrous. Acorn Stair Lifts has the solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stair Lift, the world's leader in stair lifts. That's right. Don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stair Lifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Now you can safely ride with your Acorn Stair Lift.
Now I don't have to worry about him climbing those stairs anymore.
And our Acorn Stair Lift was very affordable.
Our Acorn Stair Lift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stair Lift has a padded seat and backrest for maximum comfort. It easily folds up for access to the stairway. 5 safety sensors stop your Acorn Stair Lift if there is something in the way. And it even runs during power outages.
I am king of my castle again.
You'll be working directly with the world's leader in stair lifts. That's right, there's no middleman. Acorn's trained technicians professionally install your stair lift directly to the staircase. In most cases, in 2 hours or less. There's no need for special construction. We don't leave until you're completely comfortable using your Acorn Stair Lift.
Don't risk a serious fall going down the stairs.
I was really surprised at how little it cost.
Call for your free no-obligation information kit and quote from Acorn Stair Lifts. Just don't fall. Safely ride up and down your steps.
Give your life a lift with Acorn Stair Lifts.
Call 1-800-908-4077 right now for your free information kit or visit our website today. That number again is 1-800-908-4077. Call now.
Simparica Trio protects against 3 categories of parasites.
Power of disease.
This drug class has been associated with neurologic side effects, including seizures. Use with caution in dogs with or without a history of these disorders. Don't just protect, triple protect.
Does it ever feel like society is going up in flames, yet people don't have the strength to care? There's a hidden reason for that, and it may surprise you. Testosterone levels in American men are at an historic low, and it's testosterone that gives men the energy to be men. Support your own natural testosterone production with Chalk. Go to chalk.com/TV1 for your $17.76 discount. Chalk's All-American customer service team is standing by.
Today in Miami, there was excitement in the air. Yesterday, for the first time in 7 years, a passenger plane flew directly from the United States to Venezuela. An American Airlines flight took off from Miami International Airport. It landed at Simon Bolivar Airport in Venezuela. It was a celebration when passengers boarded the plane. They were greeted with Venezuelan flags, balloons, and, of course, snacks. In 2019, the United States ended direct flights to Venezuela due to safety concerns. And today, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said in part, quote, "Thank you to my team at the Department of Transportation for the quick work to reopen the Venezuela airspace safely and resume these flights. This means a big economic opportunity for America and Venezuela," end quote. It's unclear how much today's tickets cost, but tickets for future flights to Venezuela will be about $1,000. Thank you for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take, is next. Stay with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.